Now before we start with the video, I want to announce something. A big Breath of the Wild livestream on March 3rd and 4th. I will stream on my YouTube channel and Twitch, so you can choose where to watch it. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram and or Facebook to see when I go live, since it kind of depends on when my Switch comes in, and I'll be streaming the entire day, so get ready. Now let's get to the subject of the video. We are almost there! We are so close to it! Only a couple of days left until we can finally play it. The magical Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Soon, it will be upon us. So it's time for a final predictions, thoughts and hopes video, since a lot is still a mystery, like the story, some of the bosses, side quests, and more. Let's start, shall we? In all the footage so far, we've seen that you can do some pretty fancy moves, but what can we expect from the full game? We have seen Link throw his weapons, use magic wands and rods, shoot bows, but what can we do besides that? Well, there are some things that spark my interest. First, the runes that we see in the game, second, the food and potions, and third, the ability control menu. Could the other runes that you unlock in the game add to the combat? We have seen that the bombs can be pretty handy, but will there be more abilities like that? Maybe, but this depends on how many more rune abilities we'll get. But I do expect more to appear in the game. Even the most unusual of them can be used to take out enemies, like stasis, which you can use to launch objects at enemies. And maybe they will even be used on certain ones in order to defeat them. This could also be the case with bosses. We have seen in other Zelda games that certain bosses can only be defeated with certain items. So maybe you need to use specific runes to take a boss down. But so far, Breath of the Wild has been breaking a lot of Zelda conventions, so I don't expect that to be a thing anymore. And it would be a good thing to remove in my opinion. Now for the food and potions in the game. As far as I've seen, there are loads of different recipes and uses for this. Some people who got a review copy also said multiple times that it will play a huge role in the game. So what can we expect? Well, we know that they heal you and give you extra hearts and stamina, but I don't think it ends here. We have seen that some of them also give you buffs. Now this creates a lot of possible bonuses. So I expect tons of potions and types of food that increase speed, stealth, strength, cold resistance, heat resistance, and the list goes on. Maybe we will even get types that give you damage bonuses related to certain enemies or stuff like overtime fire damage. We have seen this in a ton of other games like The Witcher 3, so will this also play a role in Breath of the Wild? It would be epic though, since this makes preparing for a fight more logical. If you want to take out a bunch of undeads, then a potion that would give you increased damage to this type would be extremely useful. And to be honest, I kind of expect this to be in the game at some point. Now for the ability control menu. When I first saw this, I was kind of shocked, but not in a bad way. It's a good thing in my opinion. I expect this to be a lot like all the other RPG games I've played, like World of Warcraft and The Witcher. Here you can select your special abilities and spells to defeat your enemies with. But I could be wrong. I mean, it's still Nintendo. They like to innovate. So we might actually see Link use powers like fireballs, magic shields, invisibility, and all kinds of other stuff. If this is the case, then it would be amazing for combat. It would give you so many options, and I personally expect this to be in the game. And for the bosses? Well, I hope they get rid of the standard old go for the eye mechanic. But by the looks of it, some of the bosses still have this as their weak spot. So I just hope that not all of them have it. As we all know, Ganondorf makes a return in the game, but this time he is called Calamity Ganon. He is stuck in Hyrule Castle, and 100 years prior he destroyed almost the entirety of Hyrule by taking over the Guardians and the Divine Beasts. But how will you save the day? Well, I think that the flowers that we see in the trailer will somehow restore the Master Sword. Besides that, we will also have to take back the Divine Beasts. After this, you will have a chance against him. However, they also showed off a tapestry with the legend of Calamity Ganon on it, and here we see Zelda, the Beast, and some other person. A lot of people said that it looks like Link, but in my opinion, it looks more like a beast of some sort, maybe Ganondorf. So I think there's more to this. It could be that the Spirit of Demise broke free from Ganondorf and became a thing on its own. But what about the timeline? Well, we saw some Breath of the Wild related hints in Twilight Princess HD, so I guess that means that it's in the child timeline. To be honest, I'm not sure. This has been bothering me for so long. There are just so many different things from all kinds of games. Also, what happened to the Triforce? We haven't seen it in any of the gameplay videos or trailers. Will it not appear in the game? We can't be sure, but it is strange. Now, we have seen some of the shrines, but we haven't seen much of the dungeons yet. So what can we expect here? Well, for the shrines we will get a lot of physics-based puzzles that make use of the runes. We already saw that on the Great Plateau, but I think that's just the beginning. I think there will also be shrines that make use of multiple runes, so then you have to figure out which one to use, or even combine them. And that's it. I think we won't have any shrines centered or even with sections of combat. They will most likely be built around puzzles. Also, the rewards are pretty good, so we will be doing them a lot. And, spoiler, you even get your health and stamina upgrades from it. But what about the dungeons? Well, normally you would go into a dungeon to get a certain item at the end, which is needed for the main story. And inside the dungeon, you would find an item like the hookshot, for example, and use that for everything, including the boss. This made the dungeons very predictable and boring in my opinion. It wasn't a good thing. But in Breath of the Wild, a lot of the old formula is gone. So maybe the dungeons will be completely different as well. There were even some suggestions that the dungeons take place inside the Divine Beasts, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I do expect a part of the dungeon to take place inside of it, but that would rather be the second half. The first half is getting there. This would be great, and maybe they will even get rid of the dungeon items completely, which would be a huge improvement. Now this will be a huge part of the game. Just like the very first Zelda, it's all about exploring and doing your own thing. You can even completely skip the main quest or go to the final boss immediately. But what can we do in the world? Well, you got the shrines, Korok seeds and side quests of course, but that's the basic stuff. I want to talk about what we can find in the world itself. Well, as far as I could see in the plateau footage, there are a lot of enemy camps. And this is also something I expect in the rest of the world. A lot of bokoblin camps, other types of bases, and things hidden in weird places. I hope the game is filled with little secrets and unexpected turns everywhere. That's what makes the open world games great. Nintendo has always been a fan of this, and since they take inspiration from the first Zelda, I expect the world to be filled. We also saw side quests, and as far as we have seen, they seem to be pretty basic. But Nintendo has experience with this. Remember all the Majora's Mask side quests? Well, that's what I expect from Breath of the Wild as well. Small side quests that are perfectly bite-sized, and huge ones that go deep and get multiple characters involved and influence the world in the end. And with a total of, spoiler, 76 side quests, we will be busy for quite a while. So those are my final thoughts, hopes and predictions for the game, and soon it will be upon us. Don't forget to join the Breath of the Wild livestream on March 3rd and 4th. I'll be streaming all day on my channel and Twitch, so you can choose. Keep an eye on my Twitter, Instagram and Facebook to see when I go live, since this kind of depends on when my Switch comes in. So get ready, because on the 3rd and the 4th, we will finally play the game. Thanks for watching everybody, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to watch more, click the annotations on the screen right now, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the live stream. Also, what are your hopes, predictions, and thoughts about Breath of the Wild? What do you want to see in the game? Tell me in the comment section down below, and I would love to hear your opinion.